Welcome back. Brother, this is Channel 1 Lunchtime News, and it is the 2nd of May, the 8th, 2018, the day when President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to give his State of the Nation address from Parliament. And of course, speculations are rife on the content of that speech. And of course, we've had John Jacob Kuria together with his panel of experts talk about probably what is expected. And these will be kicking off once again shortly after this bulletin. Do stand by for that. In the meantime, here are among other updates that we have filed for you. I am Rose Gaku, and our sign language interpreter is Steve Dunde. Let's proceed. Fears of a waterborne diseases outbreak is rife in regions affected by ongoing floods as the effects of the torrential floods remain in most parts of the country continue to be felt. For residents of Tulorobora village in Isiolo County, theirs is the fear that flash floods that have hit the region could exhume bodies buried at a nearby cemetery. Oscar.
Catholics in Isiolo town have not been spared. Rainwaters from the upper regions of Meru have left bodies at a nearby cemetery at the risk of being washed away. The locals have now resolved to block the direct floodwaters from sweeping away the graves by putting up barriers using bags filled with soil.
Kuna kaburi mbili, area hii ilikuwa zimebombolewa kabisa na maiti ilikuwa zinaonekana. Kwa bahati nzuri chief wa area hii na assistant chief wameweza kumobilize wananchi na hizo sehemu za makaburi zimezibwa kama mnavyoona sasa. Kwa hivyo kila kitu kiko sawa. Tutazungumza na county government ili iweze kuona vile inaweza kutengeneza drainage nzuri kwa sababu maji ni run off.
While calling on the county government to set up proper drainage systems to curb the menace, Isiolo Deputy County Commissioner Mwachaunga Chaunga said the situation remains dire after some bodies were partially exposed. Meanwhile, the Kenya Red Cross Society has initiated a process of distilling raw water from River Tana in a bid to prevent possible waterborne diseases in the camps hosting displaced persons.
And the floods have affected the sanitation in the area. The toilets have been submerged, and we have a lot of destruction in regard to the floods. Kenya Red Cross has come in to make sure that we have clean water and safe water for the people who are affected by the floods. The evacuees in the camps.
Kenya Red Cross Northeastern Regional Manager Abdulakim Otula says there are over 2,000 affected households at the risk of contracting waterborne diseases following the collapse of sewage systems.
This initiative also, we are doing also issues of sanitation, that is construction of toilets, temporary toilets in the camps, to ensure that we don't have a spread of disease and in regard to the defecation in the areas in the surrounding camp.
For Channel 1 Lunchtime News, I'm Emily K. Bade.
The Kenya Film Classification Board, KFCB, has issued a 24 notice to an insurance company to pull down what it terms as offensive billboards mounted at various locations in Mombasa County. KFCB Coast Regional Manager Bonvirtue Kyoko says the billboards by General Accident Insurance Company violates regulations of the Consumer Watchdog Agency. According to Kyoko, the adverts contain inappropriate language, adult implied messaging, and pictures not suitable for public exhibition.
We've not gotten a response from them, and we are still telling them, we are it not for the rains, the board should be down right now. By closure of business tomorrow, if the billboard will not be down, we'll be forced to pull it down at a cost and institute legal measures against the insurance company. They cannot violate the law to mount that billboard there without passing through the right institutions.
President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to deliver his State of the Nation address this afternoon in Parliament. The head of state is expected to use the annual event to outline plans for his second term in office. But perhaps of great interest to the public is if the president will shed more light on his unity deal with NASA leader Raila Odinga, as well as how his government intends to achieve the Big Four agenda geared towards cementing his legacy.
I, Uhuru Kenyatta.
For the first time since he was sworn into office for his second term, President Uhuru Kenyatta will deliver his much-awaited State of the Nation address this afternoon. During his first term in office, the head of state used the occasion to address pertinent issues affecting the country. It is during the same event where he has outlined his government achievements as well as his development blueprint. This year's address will not be different. Top on the list in today's address is Jubilee government's Big Four agenda. President Kenyatta is expected to shed light on how his administration intends to achieve its goals in housing, manufacturing, food security, and healthcare. But this year's address will also be unique, given that it is happening at a time the president and his political nemesis Raila Odinga have closed ranks. The president is likely to use this ritual to expound on the Building Bridges initiative, which has been earmarked to bring more cohesion among Kenyans. The economy will no doubt form part of Kenyatta's address, as well as measures taken by his government to guarantee security of citizens. It will be an occasion for the Commander-in-Chief to also give a rundown on how he will fulfill his campaign pledges, even as he seeks to cement his legacy. Eric Biegon reporting for Channel 1 News.
And of course, in this regard, as we continue awaiting the address from the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, our team of reporters are working around the clock just to ensure you do not miss out on any of these details. We're not only online, we are also on air, as you can see right now. And John Jacob Kira will be joining us shortly after this bulletin with his panel of experts to help us understand better pertaining this matter. Currently, we join Edward Kabasa, who is currently at Parliament. Kabasa, afternoon to you. Give us a brief.
Thank you very much, Rose Gikuo. In studio, we are live at the Parliament, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to come here before 2:30 for his State of the Nation address at 2:30. The President is going to be addressing both houses, the National Assembly as well as the Senate. We do expect that address, just like the previous ones, to take place in the National Assembly chambers. That's where there is enough room for that particular joint sitting. This afternoon, of course, so much has been said of what the president might talk about. In the past, the president has addressed matters security. He has also addressed matters economy, where last year when he addressed the same gathering, the president did say that there was an improvement and there was a growth of the economy of slightly above 5%, but that has been downgraded to slightly above 4%. But at the same time, the president has the Big Four agenda, which he has been saying is going to, or rather is forming the pillar of his second term in office. The affordable health care infrastructure is also there, and food security. Right now, the country is experiencing the long rains. There are some parts of this country drenched in water. But if I know I don't have a lot of time, but I have Board Member of Parliament, Mugambi Urendikiri. Just a quick one, in less than a minute. A lot has been said about what the president might talk about today. According to you, what is the most important thing that the president ought to address this afternoon in less than a minute?
Thank you very much. Of course, the Big Four agenda, that's obvious. He's going to talk about it. And I will be asking the members of Parliament and the Senate to localize his message to the county and the constituency level. We also expect the president to touch something to do with the effect of the long lanes. Of course, it has disrupted a lot of activities that have been happening. But a key important today is the effect of hardship, because the last presidential address, there was a boycott from the opposition. But now with the hardship, we expect a good, conducive environment that the president is going to implement his proposal. proposals for the agenda. So we are looking forward to that. We are so excited as members of parliament, and me particularly because I know people back home in the border constituency, they expect me to go and tell them what the president has for them in terms of food security, in terms of housing, in terms of health, and in terms of manufacturing. We have so many young people who are looking forward to starting their small businesses, which forms part of industrialization. ICT is a factor that I'm looking forward to hear the president raise.
Thank you very much. I hope we'll have you on a little bit later. And so much is expected, Rose, from the president this afternoon. And just last week, the National Assembly did pass the Computers and Cyber Crimes Bill, and that particular bill is supposed to ensure that the country is secure on the internet. And if you can remember very well, the president also did indicate that 1 billion shillings was going to be given to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to help in that particular process. The war on corruption is unending. If you can remember also very well, during the vetting process where the for various positions in government, principal secretary, cabinet secretary, the war on graft also featured prominently, with all these nominees being asked how they were going to be dealing with that particular ghost. And we do expect in the president's speech to at least he's going to address that. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission also says that it is doing enough to ensure that that corruption is dealt with. In terms of security, we have a new cabinet secretary right now, Fred Matiang'i. There's so much that has happened to that regard. The education sector as well. Students are going back to school this week, and a lot has been done to that effect. And right now, for the first time, we have there's an insurance cover for students. Probably the president might touch on that as well. And what everyone is talking about, the handshake and the recently unveiled team of 14 who are going to spearhead and advise the two leaders on building bridges and making sure that the country is united. We do also expect if the president is going to be talking about that as well. But I know we're going to be here before the president gives his speech, and also after the president has given his speech. So much reaction is expected from members of the public as well as members of parliament. Those are the senators and the members of the National Assembly. The two speakers, Justin Muturi and Kenneth Lusaka, they're going to be in the same chambers this afternoon. I will hand it over back to you, Rose, but we are going to be back here. This is Channel 1 coverage of the president's speech this afternoon.
Many thanks to you, Edward Kabaso. Of course, we've heard even some of the elected leaders commenting on what they expect to be the contents of that speech, and a highlight is the growth of the economy. And of course, so far, time and again, the president has announced on his Big Four agenda that focuses to do just exactly that. But of course, following the Unity Pact newly found between NASA leader Raila Odinga and the head of state, of course, many do also expect whether the president would be shedding light on how this is expected to work in favor of the growth of the economy coming from an electioneering period. All that comprehensively packed will be brought to your screens. In the meantime, a section of leaders from Laikipia County have faulted the ongoing security operation targeting bandits accused of orchestrating acts of criminality. The group accuses security agents of blatant disregard of the rule of law after about 200 houses believed to be owned by illegal grazers in Rumuruti were destroyed.
It is a police operation that has seen over 200 families left homeless after their houses were destroyed in an operation that started last Saturday. The operation prompted by the killing of two Laikipia County officials who were shot dead at Laikipia Nature Conservancy. The families, according to the police, are illegal occupants who have invaded private farms.
Nikisimama hivi, mimi watoto wangu ni 8 na nimezaa yote Kisiriri na nimesomesha Kisiriri, na hata sasa kuna watu wanasoma university. Nikashangaa kuona siku ya Jumamosi tarehe 27 tukiamukiwa mapema, nyumba zetu zikachomwa, hatukupewa notisi yoyote, hatukuitwa mkutano yoyote, na nikashangaa sana.
The aftermath of the eviction has seen the families spend cold nights in Romorut town, where they have camped.
Alafu tukaamkia tu wametufamia, wanaangusha nyumba, wanatoa vitu, sisi tukakimbia na watoto yangu, sisi tunakaa hapo na mto tena imefurika, tunakaa hapo karibu kwa mto.
Hatujajua ni nini tumekosea na hatujajua chochote tumefanya nini ndio tukashomewa manyumba. Sasa tumeshangaa tena siku ya leo tumekuta tunabomolewa ile nyumba zilibaki, hakuna nyumba ilibaki, waliharibu mabati, zile maukuta tu zimebaki, tumeondolewa leo na pia tunatishiwa maisha. Wanyama wetu wanauawa.
The affected families claiming they are victims of circumstances, given that those involved with banditry activities come from elsewhere.
Ni aibu na ni jambo la kusikitisha sana kwamba maafisa wa usalama ndio wanatumiwa kunyanyasa wananchi maskini wa Kenya.
Sisi hapana iko kwa jamba ya Jeneng. Jeneng ni mtu mchokozi, hatukaribiani na yeye. Hii shamba tuko ni yetu.
Laikipia North MP Sarah Lekorere, who visited the affected families, raising concern over the nature of the operation.
Na mimi nasikitika leo ni kwamba watu hawa wamevamiwa, watoto wanalala nje wakinyeshewa, wamama hawana pa kwenda. Kaunti hii kuna gavana, kuna seneta, kuna wabunge kiasi, hakuna mtu amefungua mdomo.
The MP calling on the Laikipia County government to supply the victims with tents and food aid. Laikipia Governor Deritu Mureithi and local ranchers have, however, welcomed the operation, saying that it will act to restore peace in a region that has for years been plagued by insecurity.
We want to say very categorically that we as the Laikipia leadership stand with the police force, and we expect them to carry out the strictest measures allowable by law. And we are certain we speak for the entire leadership of Laikipia, Baringo, Samburu, Isiolo.
Samson Kitavi, Lunchtime News.
If you're just joining us now, this is Channel 1 Lunchtime News. We take a very short break. We'll be right back.
Every 4 minutes is a chance for you to win big with Mega Dollar. Just go to Lipa na M-Pesa, enter paybill number 295888, account name KBC, and amount from 10 shillings or more. Then select your 10 numbers from 1 to 80 and send to 29588. You can win up to 30 million shillings. Start playing now and win. Mega Dollar. Big winners every 4 minutes.
Vote for KBC Channel 1 as your favorite TV station for the Kuza Broadcasting Awards 2018. SMS the word Kuza to 15601. It's absolutely free. Voting ends on 9th May. Vote, vote, vote.
Hii kwenye Mkulima tutaangazia mengi kuhusu broccoli na pia tujifunze kutengeza yogurt.
A small pan. I don't like it.
On Sosion. The officials claim that the purported removal of Sosion by a section of union officials was propagated by an unnamed party. A number of NAT National Executive Council officials are said to have met on Monday and suspended Sosion.
Baringo, that we don't support the coup which took place the other day to suspend the Secretary General, because normally when soldiers are in a war, we don't replace generals, we don't replace captains, we continue until we've won the battle, that we come back and reassess and we make changes. But I want to say this is a wrong timing to remove the Secretary General, because he is the person that every teacher in this country is looking up to give a direction. And therefore, as teachers of Baringo, we are saying Sossion should remain the Secretary General. And if there are some guys who are angry and they need power, they wait. That time will come.
Gender rights activists are blaming leniency in punishing perpetrators of gender-based violence for the rise in cases of the vice in Trans Nzoia County. According to Immaculate Shamala, out-of-court settlement of gender-based violence cases was making a mockery of the law, allowing the culprits to continue with their bad behavior. A section of women leaders drawn from Trans Nzoia County want stringent laws put in place to deter gender-based violence.
Najaribu kuelimisha watu yetu ya kwamba mtoto akirepiwa aidha kwa jamii, kwa sababu kuna zile pia cases ambaye inafanyika katika familias. Tunajaribu kuwafundisha ya kwamba kesi kama hizo sikipatikana wasichukulie rahisi na wasichukulie ishie kule nyumbani ama kwa wakasa ama kwa nini. Na pia tunaelimisha wakasa ya kwamba kesi kama zile wajaribu kupeleka mbele mpaka polisi mpaka kotini. Na tunataka pia kushirikiana na waheshimiwa na polisi na pia mpaka na judiciary yote, tuhakikishe ya kwamba kesi ambayo zimefika kule tuhakikishe haki imetolewa kwa ajili ya rape cases.
Sexual gender-based violence is not only to the women, but also the boy, the man are also vulnerable to it. We are asking the County Assembly to walk the talk, and that's why we invited our lady MCAs, and I thank them that they are ready to, bring some motions in the County Assembly in terms of budgeting. Can we have a budget that strictly addresses the medical and psychosocial support of gender-based violence?
The gender rights activists say the tendency to allow out-of-court settlements on such crime was creating room for the perpetrators to continue with the vice, knowing very well they will get away with no sanctions. The lobbyists urged victims of gender-based violence to report their perpetrators to authorities. Nyeri County government has employed over 600 early childhood education teachers as it moves to lay a firm foundation for education of young learners. The program, according to the county, is to take away the burden from parents who have been paying for the teachers, locking out the majority poor.
It has been a long and hard road for parents of ECD pupils in Nyeri in their quest to secure the foundational education for their children, whose cost proved prohibitive for the poor. Today, the situation promises to improve immensely with the county government's move to fully handle ECD education. Through the county's Public Service Board, 604 ECD caregivers have already been hired, with ongoing plans to absorb an extra 196 to improve the student-teacher ratio. Speaking at the signing of the one-year renewable contracts for the new caregivers, Governor Mutahi Kahiga revealed the county government's commitment to providing extra funds towards putting up extra ECDE centres, improving the current 426 centres, as well as providing teaching and learning material.
Our 426 public ECD centers have a very pivotal role in providing a firm educational foundation for our children. These centers have a symbiotic relationship with primary schools in the county. My government reckons that any investments in the sector should be made in such a manner that nurtures this relationship. We cannot work without you, teachers. We must walk this journey together.
The county government has also issued bursaries amounting to 40 million shillings to some 11,338 students from universities, middle-level colleges, secondary and special schools under the program dubbed Elimu Fund. Victor Muyakane, Channel 1.
Kajiado County government has unveiled a 50 million shillings public school feeding program that will see all pupils in pre-primary served porridge in the morning. Governor Joseph Olelenku says the initiative is aimed at boosting the enrollment of children in schools.
A survey by the Kajiado County government has established that at least 5,000 children of school-going age are still at home. It is a state of affairs caused by the economic situation in the area, where most families can only afford one meal in a day. And for this reason, the county government has embarked on an ambitious school feeding program to ensure the children get a hot meal in the form of fortified porridge to keep them in class.
Na nitoe tu hakikisho kwa wazazi kwamba hii program tutasustain. Hatuwezi anza mwezi huu alafu mwezi ujao tuseme hiyo haiwezekani. Na kwa hivyo hata kama ile lengo tunaiweka ni kwamba katika bajeti wa miaka 2018-19 ambayo inaanza Julai, tunataka hata kuimarisha kuhakikisha kwamba imefana zaidi.
Governor Joseph Olelenku launched the program at Moipei Primary School, and the initiative has since won accolades from parents.
Watoto wetu nyumbani wanaumia sana, hata hapa shuleni wanaumia. Tunashukuru kwa sababu ya kutukumbuka. Kaunti yetu hajatusahau. Tunashukuru Mungu, tunaletewa vitu. Na tunashukuru Lenku sana kutuletea uji ya watoto.
Lenku says that the education standards in the county have been dwindling, and his government wants to explore all options of improving the situation.
A 3-year-old boy from Kisii County has died, while his mother and 2 of his siblings are fighting for their lives at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital in suspected food poisoning. According to doctors at the hospital, the patients who were complaining of abdominal pains, vomiting and diarrhea had reported eating boiled cassava before they held complications.
A family of 4 in Kisii is mourning the death of their 3-year-old son in what is suspected to be a case of food poisoning. 2 other children from the family, aged 4 and 11 years, as well as their mother, are admitted at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital. The family is said to have eaten boiled cassava before complaining of abdominal pains, vomiting and diarrhea.
They went to another facility before coming to KTRH. And unfortunately, one of their siblings passed on. We came up with the conclusion of now gastroenteritis due to food poisoning from the cassava. The cassava itself has some component of cyanide. Now the cyanide is what causes the poisoning if it is of significant levels.
According to Dr. Nyamache Nyarango, the victims might have consumed cassava containing a poisonous compound found in some species of cassava. Also, the bitter ones are the ones which tend to have a higher level of cyanide. And we are not sure of the cassava they had partaken prior to presentation. Yeah? So probably we assumed it could have been the bitter one. Even after being boiled, they presented with poisoning. Agricultural experts warn that some types of cassava foodstuffs relied on for carbohydrates needed to be dried, soaked in water and rinsed or baked before consumption owing to the poisonous nature of its roots and leaves. Irene Mchuma Odim, The Lunchtime News.
A family in Tinganga Village, Kiambu County is seeking justice after a contractor dumped their son in hospital following an accident. The family claims their son was hired by the contractor, and when he fell from a building, he was taken to a city hospital where he later died. The hospital has detained the body, demanding 2.5 million shillings in accrued medical bills.
The body of Michael Ngige has been lying at a city mortuary for almost a month now. The family of the late Ngige says it cannot afford to pay the 2.5 million shillings being demanded by the hospital.
Tafuta harabu ya kwanza, tukapata 300. Harabu ya pili, tukapata 500. Tukaona tukipeleka hiyo atatupatia mwili. Tukienda huko wakasema hii si pesa, mfikishe 2,000,000 tumupatie hiyo permit ya huko.
Ngige, the father of 3, met his death after falling from a 4th floor of a building that was under construction. The family is accusing a contractor who had sought the service of Ngige for abandoning him at his deathbed. They claim it was unfair for the contractor to rush him to hospital and then fail to pay for the medical bill.
Kitambo alikuwa akifanya mzuri kwa kulipa ile pesa, lakini nyumaye alikosea kwa kutoroka, akatuacha na hiyo bila yote. Ingekuwa vizuri kama yeye tulikuwa pamoja ili tusaidiane hii mambo.
They now want the National Construction Authority to come to their rescue and compel the contractor meet part of the bill.
And now here is your business update. A section of leaders are calling for the reopening of the Mandera border post, backed by beefed up security in the area. They argue that the closure of the facility has led to an increase in the inflow of contraband goods and has affected business in the area.
The government closed the Mandera border post that links Kenya to Somalia late last year following a wave of attacks in Mandera by suspected militants from across the border. This year, the cost of living in the area steadily rise as locals were forced to source goods from far-flung areas such as Nairobi.
Boda hapa ya Mandera na Kawa, hiyo boda ifunguliwe au namna gani? Hiyo boda ina deny serikali ya Kenya pesa revenue zaidi ya bilioni 1 kila mwaka. Kwa hivyo kulingana na mambo ya security, mambo ya revenue collection, mambo ya biashara, tunataka boda ya Mandera na Somalia hapa mjini Mandera ifunguliwe, na tutajadiliana na idara tofauti ya different governments.
Trade Cabinet Secretary Aidan Mohammed says the country is losing 1 billion shillings every year as revenue after the closure of the Mandera border post.
Adan, waziri mwenzangu amesema mambo ya mpaka kufunguliwa. Tunaambia ndugu yetu Matiang'i pia mumesema mnataka mpaka ufunguliwe, sio?
Residents claim that the closure of the border post has led to an increase in the inflow of contraband goods, including illegal weapons.
Airtel Kenya is set to expand its 4G network coverage in major towns across the country by the end of the year. This follows successful test of the spectrum and issuance of the 4G license by the Communications Authority, in which the telco paid 2.5 billion shillings. Managing Director Prasanta Dasarma says this will be a boost to its mobile data segment. Details of these and other stories in our corporate briefs.
For the past 1 year, Airtel Kenya has been testing its 4G network in Nairobi and Mombasa as it aims to enter the competitive data market, which has been growing year on year. In February this year, CA announced that the telco had completed all requirements needed, including payment of the license fee. And today, Airtel Kenya announced that it was rolling out 4G service across the country.
2/3 of our 8 million odd subscribers are using data. So the 4G will further enhance that experience of those customers, and that's a very good sign, and that's what we want to do. And also the new smartphone users, because most of the smartphones today are coming with 4G enabled devices, and I think that will help to capture the new market. So we are actually very, very gung-ho with our 4G services.
Meanwhile, over 400 youth and women from across the country are set to benefit from an agroforestry program that seeks to build the capacity of beneficiaries to boost production while also conserving the environment. The program being spearheaded by the Multi-Touch International in collaboration with the local agriculture and forest extension offices has already kicked off in Nakuru, Laikipia and Homa Bay counties.
Kwa hii mradi nimeingia hii mradi yenye inaitwa Multi-Touch, nimeingia kiasi ya muda miezi 4. Nimefanya nayo, mara hapo nilikuwa nikifanya kazi kwa ofisi, nikaona hiyo kazi nisaidie, malipo nafinyiliwa, napelekwa hata miezi 2. Nikaona sasa wacha nikuja nijiunge na hii sababu ni malipo ya kila siku.
Finally, Carrefour franchise holder Majid Al Futaim has signed a deal with the village market management that will see the retailer opening an outlet there later this year. Frank Mururu, country manager at Majid Al Futaim Retail Kenya, says they will be embarking on construction work this month where Carrefour Market will be located, which will be followed by installation of equipment and the relevant fit out to suit Carrefour's international standards.
The International Monetary Fund has approved a new 3-year $112.3 million loan for Malawi to assist the Southern African country's economic and financial reforms. The International Monetary Fund says following the approval, the fund would immediately disburse about $16 million, with the remaining amount phased over the duration of the program, subject to semi-annual reviews. Details of these and other stories in our business news roundup from across the continent.
Malawi has shown progress in achieving macroeconomic stabilization following 2 years of drought, with a rebound in growth and inflation reduced to single digits. IMF Deputy Managing Director Tao Zhang says that Malawian authorities were making efforts to entrench macroeconomic stability, raise growth and reduce poverty, and that the IMF arrangement under the Extended Credit Facility will support the authorities' program and efforts. Malawi Finance Minister Goodall Godwe said in February the government would aim to cut borrowing and stick to the IMF program in order to boost the economic growth rate to 7% in the medium term. Malawi's economy is estimated to have expanded 4% last year from a growth of 2.6% in 2016. Meanwhile, preparations are underway for the 2018 edition of Rwanda International Trade Fair, slated for July. Officials project this year's show to attract over 500 business entities from 20 countries. The exhibition is expected to promote locally made products as well as link local businesses to their international counterparts from experience sharing and potential partnerships. Organizers say the exhibition also serves as a platform to attract foreign companies to start operations in Rwanda. Finally, South Africa's rand strengthened against the dollar in early trade as investors waited cautiously for a U.S. Federal Reserve interest rate decision late. The rand was 0.45% stronger at 12.59 per dollar compared to a close of 12.65 on Tuesday in New York. The U.S. Federal Reserve is holding its policy meeting today and will decide whether to hold or hike interest rates as central banks in some advanced economies move away from the era of historically low interest rates. Emerging markets that have wide current account deficits to fund are expected to be hit the hardest as the supply of liquidity tightens globally.
And Oppo Kenya says it's important for technology innovators to develop cheap and cutting-edge technology to cut into the youthful Kenyan market while launching the Oppo F7 handset in the Kenyan market. The company's brand manager, Jesse Wu, said the mobile market in the country is competitive and there is need to get additional modern features to tap into the market.
Because we understand, we have been constantly doing market research regarding smartphone usage and also the habits of the young people, what they like. And we realize a selfie has become a huge part of their life and sometimes can be even called as a lifestyle in the selfie. And we understand this one, so that's why we want to bring more advanced technology into here.